everybody. Thank you for being here and joining us in our 3-year anniversary celebration for OneUnitedLancaster.com. We are extremely excited to share a couple of comments from me and from Tim. And we have a couple of videos that will also be some sharing from our staff and from some of you community members. So without further ado, we'll begin with our first video. There's a stranger who starts it. But yeah, go ahead and listen. OneUnitedLancaster.com was born out of this need at the beginning of the pandemic to figure out how were we, as the United Way and other social service agencies, going to get sufficient levels of information to the community. Things were moving rapidly and organizations were changing. They were changing the services they provided, the hours, and whether or not they were even open and considered essential work. So we realized that we needed to create a centralized location for organizations and individuals to get information out and to receive it.
We definitely want to continue to grow, expand our reporting, expand what we do. There's a lot to report on within the community. Even again, COVID is still a thing. There are a lot of community issues, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's economic security, whether it's the environment.
And really just being more of a go-to for people in Lancaster. Like, we're really covering a portion of the news that isn't covered by other news stations, highlighting nonprofits that may not get the press that they deserve, and also covering larger stories. But I think that we have a niche here and it has huge potential to grow.
Really enjoy getting out and doing sit-down interviews with people and getting different B-roll for the videos that I'm working with, and be able to put together an entire story with a short article typically as well too. So it's really neat to be able to do a different side of our typical reporting, which is a lot of written stories, and be able to put together these video elements, which has been great.
As the person who takes care of the One United Lancaster social media, it's been a real pleasure to see people interact with the things that we post online, but then of course the stories that we're posting as well. So I think that my hope as we move into the future of One United Lancaster is that people continue to interact with not only what we do, but also interact with us as reporters, as editors, as videographers, to kind of help to tell the stories that the community wants to be told.
It's just been great to see times that we've been able to be advocates for Lancaster residents. I was talking to Brian Wynn earlier, and it came to me that what One United Lancaster is it's a mirror, right? It doesn't have any purpose or existence without something to reflect. The stories that One United Lancaster tells are your stories. In this room, there's a county commissioner, there's city council members, there's people running for city council, there's nonprofit leaders, there's general community members, there's nonprofit employees, there's business folks, there's 100% of the people in this room care about Lancaster. And if we put that mirror up and there's nothing on the other side of that mirror, that's because there's nothing in Lancaster worth talking about. And yet, we've literally had thousands of articles in the last 3 years, because there are thousands of activities happening in our community. And we said at the beginning, we gotta focus. So what are we gonna focus on? Well, we need to focus on the stories that aren't being told, largely because, and we're fortunate, Tim will talk about this, we're fortunate. We've got a lot of media in this community. Other communities don't have newspapers or TV stations. We've got an abundance of them all. But they're driven differently than we are. Their economic requirements to survive are covering certain things in certain ways that we're just not interested in, right? We're just not going to give you a police blotter to embarrass people who have made bad decisions in their life. It's just not what we're going to do. We will tell you stories about the people who are working to help people make better decisions in their life, to have the resources to be able to transform from where they are to where they want to go. And many of the people in this room are those who are doing that transformative work. Yes, at United Way, we believe that we are doing that as well, and we are grateful for that. But this is about how we as a community come together to provide transformative opportunities. And so I am grateful. This is a celebration of work that we've done, but I am grateful to each and every one of you. Every story we've been able to share, every reader who is connected, I don't think people realize it's literally thousands of community members a week are reading these articles. Thousands of people a week are knowing what you're doing because we've put the mirror up. And so we thank you. Tonight is not a party for us, although if you do want to check out the fact that we've got some award-winning articles, we won't be unhappy. Or if you happen to check out the kiosks over there where you can make a financial contribution, we wouldn't be mad. But tonight is also about thanking you for reading every Saturday those wrap-up emails, for checking headlines every morning. Some people told me it's the first place they go in the morning. For inviting us into your spaces, for welcoming us, for welcoming Tim and every single one of our contributing writers. I just want to say thank you to our staff, to our contributing writers, to our board members who are here, who believed when we didn't even know what we were starting in supporting this work. And so, thank you. I want to show you real quick here. So there are some article themes here by tag. So we've got 9% awareness, 8% headlines, nonprofits 5.3%, that's if it's the primary tag. We've got advocacy, community voices. We did a lot with Lancaster Cares, the Lancaster County Community Foundation partnership that we raised $1 million with to support during COVID. Policy, Alice, government. So we've got a variety of different things here. We continue to look for ways to expand our staffing and our support. Again, money in the box helps. But we continue to look at how we can make sure that this is a long-term product for Lancaster County. And I just want to, again, say thank you all. And I deeply, deeply appreciate you helping me take this crazy idea and dream I had and making it a reality. And so thank you.
Yeah, One United Lancaster has been a great resource for the community because I think that it lives up to its vision of equity, not only for individuals, but also for communities. And it also lives up to truth with context. It covers a variety of areas of government and education and community and elderly. So the topics are great, and the content is great, and the writing is great. And I think what I really like too is that, being interviewed by, One United Lancaster, they really appear very interested in the story and invested in the story and getting it out there.
One United, I appreciate each week when it comes, I catch the recap in my inbox. And what I appreciate is because I think about, we were an organization that works with poverty. Poverty is never a singular issue. It's a collaborative, it's multiple organizations, agencies, issues. And so what I appreciate about One United is some of the, as I think of advocacy work and really stepping into the community, I love the perspective that they bring, whether it was reading about the prison movement, whether it's reading about other agencies and organizations and things that are happening. So what I love when I read it, the lens I read it through is oh wow, I didn't know that's happening, or I see, oh that's cool, oh there's someone I want to connect with, there's a resource I want to reach out to, oh that's an issue I care about, oh that's something we're battling here and working with here, I'd love to reach out and further engage in that regard.
I think about the First Amendment says freedom of the press, so people often think about media as really important for democracy. And One United's a great way to keep track of what's going on at all the municipal meetings we can't get to, or the school board meetings. But I also think local news is kind of something more than that. It's a really key part of the fabric of our community. It's the way that we know about our local sports teams and events coming up, and what nonprofits are doing, ways that we can give back as a community. So, we're so grateful to have a daily newspaper here in Lancaster, but local media is at its best when there's multiple news sources. And with One United there, really going in depth about things that I care about in the community, about nonprofit, about local government. It's just been such an amazing resource to connect a little bit deeper about what's going on in the community and find ways to get involved.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Stuhldreher, and I have the honor to be the editor of One United Lancaster. And I'm going to begin with a disclaimer, which is that reporters are not usually on stage, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why I write rather than speak for a living. And I frankly like to be the guy who is holding the spotlight and pointing it at other people and not having it pointing at him. So if I trip over my tongue in the next couple of minutes, hope you will indulge me. So, how did One United Lancaster start? It was the middle of the pandemic, so middle of the start of the pandemic, if that makes sense. In March 2020, Kevin called me and asked me if I wanted to help start a local news site. I had just come back from Pittsburgh, where I was trying to get my stepmother relocated into a senior living community. And the main thing I had going on that week was trying to clean my basement, so I said sure. And Brad Peterson was the United Way's Director of Communications, and I think he's out there somewhere. Brad, thank you. And so we started doing daily phone calls, and I started out as a part-time freelancer. And Kyle, yes, so this was the very first reported story that we did was on the local nonprofit response to the pandemic. And we put up resource lists, we put up COVID statistics, we started putting up headline roundups. We kind of threw a lot of stuff at the wall and looked at what stuck. And enough stuff stuck that we kind of kept going. And to be honest, it felt a little weird. Kyle, if you could hit the slide. I had never started a publication out of thin air before, and there was this little kind of, are we allowed to do this feeling? And I walked into the Lancaster County Public Safety Training Center the first time, kind of going, is anyone going to stop me? But where's Waldo moment here? They didn't stop me. So we kept going, and here we are. Toward the fall of that year, I believe, Brad became Executive Director of Power Packs, and we actually heard from him today at an excellent conversation about our community. So check that out, and there will be a One United Lancaster article on that, hopefully tomorrow. Still have to write the darn thing. But Brad left to take on Power Packs. I joined the United Way as a full-time employee, and we started gaming out kind of the second iteration of One United Lancaster. We had a strategy meeting. Kevin put an organizational chart on the whiteboard. I started out as reporter, then I went to chief reporter, then Kevin said, I'm the editor. I said, actually, Kevin, you're the publisher. So Kevin said, oh, then I guess you're the editor. So I went from reporter to editor in about 45 seconds, which, as far as I know, is the most meteoric rise in Lancaster journalism history. So, what is One United Lancaster? As part of that strategy session, I wrote a kind of internal white paper. I worked at the Central Penn Business Journal, so I said that we should think of One United Lancaster as kind of a business journal for nonprofits in Lancaster County. So what does that mean? I think it means three things. Number one, it means that we are doing real journalism. We are not doing marketing. We are not doing marketing for the United Way. United Way has an excellent marketing department to do that. We're not marketing the Lancaster County nonprofit community as a whole. We are reporting on the Lancaster County nonprofit community as a whole and on the issues that concern them, whether that is the environment, whether it's health, whether it's community well-being broadly defined. So that's one thing. We want to be general interest, and what that means is if you lead a nonprofit, if you work for a nonprofit, if you are served by a nonprofit, or if you are just interested in the Lancaster County community, we should have something for you that is of interest to you. And then third, there are things we don't cover. We have a lane. Kevin likes to say no crime, no routine crime, no sports. Don't think we ever done weather, unless it's like a flood. We have a lane. Frankly, we have limited resources, and frankly, this is a lane that is a little bit undercovered and underreported. So if we can fill in some of that, we are happy to do so. As far as we know, One United Lancaster is the only publication of its kind. That is a news publication supported by a local United Way chapter. And I think it says something very, very positive about the Lancaster County community in general, the Lancaster County nonprofit community, that this model has been successful. So I think that says something fantastic about people in this room. Another thing, Kyle, shoot one slide farther forward if you would, please. Yeah. We are helping Lancaster County buck the trend of declining media coverage. This is a map, and every dot on that map is a newspaper that is no longer there. And that is a lot of local newspapers. Between 2004 and 2018, about 2,100 newspapers have gone out of business in the United States of America, and that's about 25% of the total. That is a lot of newspapers. There are about 1,800 communities in this country that have no local news reporting. And that is a shame. Those are news deserts. Those are areas that are not being informed about what's going on around them. Lancaster, conversely, we are in 4 local TV news markets, and we have a daily newspaper. And at this point, I'm going to give a shout out to LNP. I cannot stress enough how lucky we are to have a locally owned, locally focused publication like LNP that puts out a print edition 7 days a week. They are irreplaceable. We have our lane. They are a general interest newspaper. I'm a digital subscriber. If you are not a print subscriber or a digital subscriber, you should be. So, Lancaster, One United Lancaster, we concentrate on nonprofits. We keep our eyes peeled for underreported stories. We may report on something that's flying under the radar, or sometimes we're there in the same room with LNP or a couple of the TV stations. We may take a different approach. This would be one example. We were up in Ephrata back in 2020 covering the utility shutoffs. Pretty core issue for us, people going without water. So we were on top of that issue early, and our coverage was continuous. There have been some other examples like that. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program, we've been on top of. The County Prison Construction Project. You guys can probably think of a couple other examples. Going forward, we are hoping to keep doing what we're doing, and we're hoping to expand our coverage. This is an article from the Refugee Youth Journalism Project. This is a collaboration between us and Church World Service and the Act for Humanity Foundation, which is started by a Nepalese gentleman named Bin Napalia. We would, that's in a bit of a lull right now, but we would like to get that going again. We've also been talking about pitching media training to nonprofits. There are a lot of small nonprofits out there that have, you know, if it's only 3 or 4 of you, media training or a media staff may not be in the budget. We know a thing or two about local media and you know, care and feeding thereof. Next slide. What's that? There should be a big thank you in there somewhere. Isn't there another thank you? Apparently the big thank you slide got missed out in the final draft. But we've been able to grow One United Lancaster thanks to a lot of people. And I'm going to look carefully at my notes now and try not to miss anybody. So to begin with, I'd like to mention Emily Ritchie and Ben Wesley. They were interns at the United Way and wrote stories for us. We've had outside contributors. Ernie Schreiber has been kind enough to let us repost his COVID reports. We have some freelancers. Kylie Stoltzfus is in the room. Max Weidman is in the room. Justin Stoltzfus is not in the room, but they have been very, very valuable helping us keep up our story count and get out reported stories. The communications team at the United Way, Maddie Seiler is the communications director, and she's been on camera for some of our interviews. Olivia Smucker has handled our social media postings and has been writing some fantastic Q&As. Anna Smucker has been writing some fantastic Q&As, and Kyle Gamble on stage here. Please, yes, absolutely. He's won us Keystone Media Awards. He does amazing videos. Did one this week on Annie's 90s that I would strongly recommend you guys check out. Lastly, I would like to thank Kevin Ressler, whose vision this all was. And I would like to thank you, everybody who's here today, and the Lancaster nonprofit community. I heard Kevin saying that we are a mirror, and that's absolutely right. What use is a mirror if it has nothing to reflect? We are proud and delighted to reflect the Lancaster County community. Thank you.